Hello, everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views. Today, I bring you Kat Malone. She is a excellent J24 sailor. She's from Tampa, and I'm going to let her tell you everything. But first off, how are you doing, Kat?
Good, good. How are you doing, Zane?
I'm surviving in these crazy times.
It
So,
is the great pause has got us all.
yes, it does. Okay, so why don't you give me a little insight on how things are going down there? I know you and your family are still active and recovering from the hurricane.
Yep.
Y'all been doing a lot with that. Give me a quick, soundbite on that.
Well, Brian, of course, his family, he's eighth generation. Our daughter, who's four, is ninth generation Bahamian, and our island took the brunt of Dorian.
Yeah.
So he and, all of us are in the midst of trying to help rebuild and get at least his family back and everyone else that we can. And he stood up an organization called Hopetown United with the help of Matt Winslow and some other very kind of involved and philanthropic people. So we've got that going on. We've got, of course, I teach at Eckerd College. He runs North Sales Golf Coast. We have, of course, Merlin, which we've been dragging around back and forth from the East and West Coast,
Yeah.
launching into distance in offshore racing. And then to top it all off, trying to run as many regattas as I can at Davis Island. Trying to plan some for the future, which is very, very iffy right now. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
of course, figuring out how to get our boat up to James Howard because our J24 needs a little bit of love.
Uh,
She needs a little bit. Her name is Supernatural Fish Slapper, but we call her Sue. And right now, she really is a boat called named Sue. I mean, she needs some love. So
yeah.
that's kind of where we are right now. And of course, stuck in our house.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't do much right now.
No.
Okay. Well, how did you get started sailing, and just how did that come to be?
Well, it is not in my heritage. I'm from Kansas, which is geographically in the center, away from all water.
Yeah.
My family, we had horses. So growing up, I quarter horses, rodeo. Had my hand in can chasing. Hung around rodeos, all that good stuff.
Hmm.
When I came down to Tampa to go to grad school, I really didn't know anybody, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, you got to come down and try out Davis Island. You can go sailing. You can just get on a boat." And I'm like, "What? Okay, I'll
What's a
try it."
boat? Yeah.
Yeah, like where does it? What are we doing? And so I showed up and just kind of happened to get on, a couple boats, had some fun. I was doing it kind of recreationally. I was like 25, I think, 25, 24, 25. And and ran into a friend and she's like, "Come down, there's a regatta party." I'm like, "What's a regatta?" And she's like, "Just come down, it's a party." And I was
Yeah.
getting ready to go out with some girlfriends, so I was not dressed in normal sailor garb.
Hmm.
I was in my going out outfit, and I showed up, and um, Chris Liebel, who
Yeah.
is one of the four Liebels, even though you think there's only two, there's actually four.
Hmm.
He actually walked up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to go sailing tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What, like on a Thursday night thingy?" And he goes,
Hmm.
"Oh, no, no, we're gonna be doing a distance race from here down to Bradenton, about 20 miles." And I'm like, "Cool, I'll show up, whatevs." And so, unbeknownst to me, it was not because I was, a tall, strapping, athletic-looking lady. It was there was a little more of a nefarious bend to Chris asking me to get on the boat. But when I showed up, they were like, "Wait a minute, she's not like she has no like she just does things." And so I kind of got plugged into some of the serious racing boats because I was young. I was about 6 foot tall. You know, not. I'm never going to be a spinner. No one ever is going to be like, "Hey, we need some rail meat. Like, we need to
Yeah.
get you on the boat. You're a girl, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but if you're looking for 110 pounds, honey, I got to cut a leg off. I'm going to have a job." And so I
uh,
got on the boat, and they were kind of like, "Cool." And then, not shortly after, I ran into Brian Malone, who at the time was named OD. And I was coming in the bar, he was coming out of the bar at Davis Island and spilled a tray full of drinks all over me. And he looked at me, and the first words the man said to me were, "I love you." And I looked at him and I said, "If only I thought you meant that." and walked away and was like, "Who's that drunk guy? He spilled drinks on me. He's telling me he loves me. Who the hell is it?" And of course, my girlfriends were all like, "That's OD." And I'm like, well, I don't like him. And then 6 months later, we were married.
Yeah,
And that's 16 years ago. So,
that is
long
awesome.
story short, story about how I got into sailing and I bagged a husband. So, if you're looking for, oh, never mind, don't look for a sailor for a husband.
Oh, come on. Come on, help some of us single guys out.
Oh, no, you can. You can. They're good. They're good. Like I said, I've been married 16 years and we spend a lot of time on the water because, as he tells me, a boat is not a democracy. It has one skipper and one captain, and you must do what he says.
Yeah.
But on land, I get to tell him what to do. But we
Uh-huh.
do sail quite a bit.
Well, I've known y'all for quite a while. I think
I
I
know.
met you guys at King's Day in Jacksonville, and I'll never forget you because we're all rigging boats up and getting ready to go, and it's it's summertime, spring. It's pretty warm, and you're wearing around these big fuzzy UGG
Ugg
boots,
boots.
and I will never forget that because I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then you're out clomping off, y'all are sailing out to the race course, and you're wearing. I'm like, okay, that's a whole. These are people I got to know. So. Yep, it's been a while. All
Yeah,
right,
no,
so
those Ugg boots are like walking on kittens. They are fantastic.
okay, I don't know if Pete will be happy about walking on kittens, but my cat over
You're
here
alive.
is
Yeah.
attacking the microphone now. So, uh, all right, so you grew up in Davis Island. There's a ton of good
Oh, grew
sailors
up in
there.
Kansas.
Well,
Grew up in
Kansas.
Kansas.
Okay, you
Moved
started your sailing in
Davis Island.
Davis
Yeah.
Island. Now, as I know, and a lot of people do, there's a lot of good sailors there. Who
Yeah.
were some of your big influences there? Obviously
Well,
Brian, but who else?
actually, Brian and I didn't sail a lot together. I kind of was, kind of scooped up by a couple other boats early on, but we did do a lot of one design racing together. We did a lot with Melges 24s. We raced with Jeff Duvall a lot in Melges 24s. Doug Fisher, because Brian for a while was with Allman Sales,
Mm,
and so we were with Doug a lot. And then we kind of, as far as people that I spent a lot of time with on the water, probably one that and he was my sponsor into the club was Cooley, Vladimir Kulinachenko.
yeah,
I sailed with him for probably, oh God, it felt like 20, but it was only 10 years. I mean, he really was one of the guys that I sailed with a ton, and he never saw anything but a job, right? So if
yeah.
I'd be like, I don't feel like jibing, he'd be like, I don't give a shit what you feel like doing, just jibe. And I'd be like, oh, okay, then we'll jibe.
Yeah,
Um, and I would have to say too that I've had the pleasure recently of doing some ocean racing with Jeff Linton, and
yeah,
that he is supernatural on the helm. He is an
yeah,
amazing sailor. And then of course we have had like a lot of, I guess you'd say, I don't want to call them kind of just local only sailors, but a lot of people in the area, just good solid sailors. A lot of them now are in their 80s and 90s, so they're not doing it a lot. But I sailed with a hell of a bunch of old guys that just, and I think it's because, as Brian likes to say, they got the biggest kick out of you just telling these guys what to do, and they would just like unleash you on cruise because
yeah,
I have a kind
yeah.
of controlling personality in a way. So
I've seen it and I've heard it. I've heard it.
yeah.
Okay, so at what point did you start thinking you were actually pretty good and started taking to it, and you got comfortable and felt good enough to be on a boat where, like you said, you could take over?
Oh, it was I'd like to say that there was like, oh, it was with a lot of training and support, but it really was one of those things I just took to it like it was what I should be doing. And all my family thought it was hilarious because they were like, so you did rodeo, so what do you win when you get a regatta? Like you go to that regatta thingy. Like
Mm,
do you get like a purse or like a prize or a belt buckle? And I'm like, nope, nope. The boat owner gets like a pickle dish kind of trophy thingy, but no. And then when we bought a boat, and I tried to convince my dad that it was a sound investment, I'm like, Dad, you need to donate some cash and I'll buy this. And he's like, no. Um,
yeah,
so anyway, we got the boat, and then it was even worse because then we realized, holy kitty cats, now we're spending $30,000 for a baseball hat.
yeah,
Like this is what we're doing.
yeah.
But I think when I kind of got really comfortable was kind of saturation. I did Wednesday night laser sailing by myself.
Hmm.
We did Thursday night racing, Friday nights either in St. Pete or Sarasota. Saturday and Sunday I was always on a boat. There were a couple of times like on Sundays that I'd go out and practice, then I'd do a race, and then I'd come back out. And at some point, someone said to me, "You're gonna get there will be a time when you'll be like, nope, I don't need to go." And there
Yeah.
was that time. I will say that it did hit, but for a while there, that's just all we did,
Yeah.
and that's all I did. So
Yeah. It was great. Okay. So what do you do for a living? You've already said it, but let's go ahead and
yeah.
clarify a little bit more so everybody knows.
I am I'm a scholarship and fellowship advisor and professor of literature and general education at Eckerd College. My PhD is in early American and modern American literature with a specialization in the narrative structure of trauma, in particular in relation to war. Um, yeah,
That is one hell of a mouthful. I can
it
tell you
is.
that.
I know. And everyone's always like, you just
What?
don't like you're like a nerd. And I'm like, yeah, big nerd, giant nerd, love nerd, just nerd out all the time. And they're like,
Yeah.
but you just don't fit. And I'm like, but that's, in a way, my author per se that I focus a lot on is Ernest Hemingway. So that's when I say that, they're like, oh, Hemingway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And I've
Uh,
been at Eckerd for about 10 years. One of my favorite classes to teach there is actually called Narratives of Sail.
there you go. All right. So what is your favorite boat and why? I know
Um,
being down there, you have access to a ton of good boats. So,
we do.
yep.
I have to say that I am partial to the J24.
Mhm.
Everyone calls them crew processors.
Yeah.
Just like everyone describes it as, trying to balance on a bowling ball with roller skates. They're just, they're like horrible boats. And I love the gosh darn little things.
Hmm.
In fact, like Brian was, of course, a sailor, he was getting paid to race with people. And I'm like, dragged him up to New Jersey to buy this boat.
Hmm.
And then we get it back here. And he's like, Kat, what are we doing with this thing? I'm like, we're going to race it everywhere. And so then we dragged it around and I was still in grad school. So then like they would like send me, student loan checks, and half the time I didn't need them unless we needed new sales.
Yeah.
So I have to say that the federal loan program did help to support my education, both on the water and
Sponsored
off.
by the U.S. government. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, goodness gracious, I just love a J24. But the
Yeah.
only place I love to be on a J24 is either on the bow or driving. That
Yeah.
middle section, no bueno.
No, there's
Just
no
no,
fun in the middle.
no.
No. Luckily, I don't do bow, and I'm not good at anything else, so they just keep me in the back. So I get lucky that way.
Exactly. It's
Mhm.
a good place to be.
Yep. All right. So, where's your favorite place to sail?
I will have to say I have to edit that because I was gonna say many places, right? We all love certain places,
Mhm.
but last year I got the opportunity to participate in the 50th Transpac
Mhm.
on Merlin.
Yep.
I sailed 2,386 miles. And I will have to say that my favorite place to arrive right now is Honolulu.
Yep.
Coming into that harbor and that finish of that regatta is like nothing I've ever experienced. Their hospitality is bar none, not to mention the fact that you've just spent
A week
basically, we
on the
spent
water.
8 days on
Yeah.
the boat, and the last 2 days were like the best sailing weather you've ever had. And we're all going down and we're in Merlin.
Yeah.
That boat was made to do that race. I
Yeah.
mean, it was spectacular.
Yeah. I bet. All right. So, where do you see sailing going in the future? Post apocalypse now, and then just in the future, what's happening?
That's it's. We've actually had a lot of conversations about that with a lot of different people in different points about the industry, and I think what we've come to here, what our home, like in this space, we've kind of arrived at is that it's probably going to be day sailing and cruising that's going to come back first because you can do it with your friends, you can do it with the people that you're socially quarantined, isolated, whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of talent, right? you
Yeah.
can you can do a lot with a little, and you can have fun.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where we're going to see a lot of our sailing go right now. I think unfortunately, where the great pause is going to affect one design more than anything, because there really isn't any club or area that has like 21 design boats where you could get people to go and sail them and do something with them at like a North American or at any level beyond just kind of club or
Yeah.
regional, until we kind of solve this issue.
Yeah.
I think the big worry that I have, and I've talked to a lot of our race committee, because I do a lot with our club. I've been involved with Davis Island. I was on every every committee, every flag. I've run pretty much all their regattas, and I was their first woman commodore, even though they really didn't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But they did, and I wore my Uggs fairly often during my commodoreship. Brian also had to host the ladies' Irish coffee because it said the wife, and all those older ladies were a little upset that there was a dude in their ladies' Irish coffee.
Oh lordy. Yeah,
But
y'all are
anyway,
just making things crazy out down there.
it is. But anyway, I mean, I think we've been talking a lot at the club level about the fact that we're worried about our older members, our older
Mm,
sailors, our like you can't have a regatta without race committee, and most of those race committee officials are older,
yeah.
or they're a little more susceptible. And
Yeah.
so I think we're gonna have a little cruising, a little day sailing, maybe some pursuit racing, maybe some shorthanded distance racing, and a lot less social on the back end, which is just depressing because
Yeah.
this stuff, like talking like this is what makes sailing what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
you got to go and you don't go out when it's blowing 35 and put the kite up because nobody's watching. You
Right.
go and put it up because somebody's watching, and you're going to tell someone when you get back in, no, it was blowing 40. I swear, every bit of 40 when I was out there.
Yeah.
So we
Sailors
need
sailors and their stories
social.
are always
Yeah.
always big. Yeah.
And you can't have a story without a social event. So I
Right.
think we are going to be suffering a bit from that.
Yeah. All right. So your best regatta or your best trip. I know the Transpac's definitely one of them. What other than that? Because I know that one's epic. But
Yeah, that was an amazing. Yeah, no, that was a lot of unpacking of that. But
yeah.
probably like the best trip was probably something. I don't even want to call it. It was probably a combination of trap like roadshow and participating in an event. A
Mm,
couple years ago, we went out. So when Kelly Holmes Moon was still with us, God love that man.
yeah.
He was hosting the North Americans, I think, out in
Rush Creek. Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went out there. We dragged the boat. Brian had just quit smoking. We went out there and just had a hoot. I mean, the first day was a little light and fluky lake sailing, but
Mm,
the next couple of days we had Mark Liebel, myself, Brian, Scotty Camilleri, and what the heck was the guy Scotty Cull, who was
mm,
just, I mean, it was just such a hoot. The whole, like, it was a fun, everyone knew their job. Everything was just on target. And then when we finished, we just had like a rip roaring little get together. And Brian and Mark were not drinking because it was like sober day or something. And so Scotty Culp and myself got so hammered, and we just made complete and utter, like, we were just nuisances. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure I was hanging out of the truck window at some point. I mean, it was a good time. But I have to say that
That's
that
my
was just
girl.
all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just all around a good event. We had fun on the water. We had fun off the water.
Yeah. I know some of my favorites are. It's hard to nail down my favorite, but I know I've always had fun come down with the midwinters that you guys run and Kelly's run. All you guys, y'all put on such a great show and have such a good time. It's hard to beat it. All right, so let me move on to the next question.
Mhm.
Which one is it? All right? So that was one of your best regattas. What's your worst regatta? The worst trip you've done, the most miserable. Think about it.
It had to be a Melgis 24 event, and when the honeymoon comes over with the crew, and you
Hmm.
don't have the joy and the love for each other anymore, and you're just done,
Yeah,
but
oh
you're
yeah,
still sailing hard.
yeah,
Um, we had pretty much won everything we could win with the Melgis 24 that we were in. We were sailing with the skipper that was just a little draconian, and he started drink counting and just being just generally snippy. And we were winning the regatta. Everything was going, like we could not lose. Like
yeah.
it was mathematically impossible for us to lose this regatta. We didn't have to sail the last day. It was one of those things. And I just remember sitting in the hotel room thinking, I this isn't worth it. I winning,
Yeah,
hiking like a banshee on a Melgis 24. None of it's worth it because
yeah.
I don't feel this. This is not good. And it could have been in Melbourne. I mean, it could have been in Naples. I can't even remember where it was. I just remember that feeling of like shit.
I'm
This
done.
is not. This tastes like ashes.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
No.
All right, so what's the most interesting thing you've seen floating by a boat? While you're out on the
Um.
water, what's interesting? What have you seen? Just
Um. Well, I would like to say there's been a lot of weird things out there, right? I've seen some people who can't make it back on boats. Those have been kind of interesting.
yeah,
But I have to say it's kind of eerie but weird. And it's changed my perspective on balloons. But when we were getting ready to start last year's MAC race, one of the competitors on a TP52 in our class, he fell overboard. And so everyone stopped. We started looking and scanning the waters. It was a little bit rough and choppy and gray, and it's Mackinac, so it's lake, and it's dreary. And we kept finding what we thought was the yellow head,
Hmm.
kind of the life raft, the not life raft, the
Life
life
jacket,
vest.
yeah, life vest,
Yeah,
yeah.
because of the hood, the spray hood from the, and we came up on so many balloons that I was just like, I
Yeah.
will, and we never did find him. They found him weeks later, but
Oh,
it was one of those things that after that, anytime I see a kid with a balloon, I just want to pop it, because I'm like, if that goes in the water, it's horrible anyway. And
yeah,
then secondly, it just brings me right back to like seeing and thinking about being in that water,
yeah,
right? Wanting somebody to find you.
yeah. Definitely nothing good about that.
No.
All right, so what's your best job? What's your best role on a boat?
I am best suited for, I would like to say, I am your conventional spinnaker bow girl. Like
Mm.
that's my bread and butter, which is now a dying art, which is shocking. Like I get on boats with a spinnaker pole and kids under 25 and they're like, "What's that thing?" And
Yeah,
I'm like, "It's a spinnaker pole."
yeah.
That's
They
what
don't
it's.
know how to use it.
I
What are
know.
these strings going on it? Yeah,
Well, you'll appreciate this because I've seen Wild Cherry.
yeah.
Brian took the B-32 and put an oversized penalty pole on the thing, and we
Uh-huh.
run A sims and sims on it in the same races.
Oh
So
wow.
we are flipping out guys after guys. We're
Oh
flipping to snout lines, this and that. We are doing, and it's an oversized pole. So
yeah,
that thing, there's no handling it, right?
yeah.
I tell you, my pit guy has hit me so many times in the head that last time at the regatta, like it was at St. Pete Nude, I got taken to the freaking urgent care because I'm like, I can't see and I'm getting a little nauseous.
Oh
So yeah,
Lord.
Bow is
Oh
my best place. But I'm
yeah.
telling you right now, they've now decided that they're like, hey, you don't get seasick and you're really good at like computer stuff. So you're going to be a navigator
Yeah.
and learn weather routing. So I'm in the middle of learning modern weather for sailors.
There you go.
So we'll see if the next time we talk, if I'm into leather. But right now, it's just
Yeah.
cowboy
You
boys.
realize you're going to be stuck in a little hole underneath the loudest part of the boat watching a computer. So, yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
I got you. I got you. I know. I'm not, like I said, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be fun to come out of the hole every now and then.
They're like, oh, sunlight.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the water, are you the aggressive type or the conservative type? Are you the one saying put it up early or pull it down, late? Are you aggressive or conservative?
I am prudent. Brian
Really?
is reckless.
Okay.
Between prudent and reckless, we make the right call. I
Okay.
am always like, I like to tell Brian when we're coming into a mark, hey, Ronald Reagan, man, Ronald Reagan, conservative,
Uh-huh.
conservative, Brian. And he's back there going, I don't know which one I'm going to yet. You'll get it.
Yeah.
Which is why we have perfected the port tack ley line in one design, because Brian loves to come in there. And I'm always like, this is, and he'll look at me and I'll look at him like when we're heading out to the port tack ley line. And I'm like, really? He goes, you know, I love you. And I'm like, exactly. This is, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, no, I'm prudent.
Yeah.
Brian's reckless.
Yeah, understand that. Okay. All right, what's the greatest maneuver y'all have pulled off together?
Oh,
Why coming in on port tack and smoking everybody for the win, or I mean, come up with something good there. The best maneuver y'all pulled off.
talking other people into paying us to go sailing.
Okay, the
You know?
hoorah. All right, I'll call that a
Exactly.
winner right there. Okay, all right. Well, that's a good one. All right, what's your favorite project or program y'all have been involved in? Is it doing
I have
your
to
boat
say,
or Merlin or
we have done a lot and we've had
yeah?
really good owners. We've had small boats, big boats, large boats, etc. I will have to say that the Merlin program and Chip Merlin, Merlin Yacht Racing, that group, it has been the most fun. And he is old school owner.
Yeah.
It is almost as if he stopped sailing before he graduated college at UF way back in the 80s. He
Hmm.
didn't sail for like close to 20, 30 years. And he comes back and he literally is like Rip Van Winkle. To him, it's still Tom Blackaller out there.
Yeah.
He is literally like, no, we're all in matching gear. No, we all, we
Yeah.
race together. We are a team. We are a family. I mean, it really is. It's a family. I mean, And when he got a bug up his butt about Merlin, he wanted to do the Newport Bermuda race. His dad was a lieutenant colonel. What was it? An admiral. So sorry, an
Wow.
admiral in the Coast Guard.
Either way,
He'd been
that's
stationed.
okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He had done the Newport Bermuda race when he was a cadet, but he's 80 years old, and Chip was like, I want to do it with my dad, and so Brian kept finding charter boats for him, and he
Yeah.
goes, no, that's a lot for a charter. And then he found that Merlin was for sale. And he's like, listen, my name's Merlin, and I loved Merlin when I was a boy, and I
Yeah.
want Merlin. So go get me Merlin, Brian. And Brian's like, okay, we'll talk later. And then he
Yeah.
the next morning called Brian again and said, why aren't you in California getting
Yeah.
Merlin?
Go
Brian's
talk
like,
to Bill. Get that thing in the trailer. Get it out.
that
here.
was it. Like
Yeah.
seriously, it was like, and then we did Newport Bermuda with his dad, which was awesome. I mean, his dad, I mean, he knows sea shanties. I mean, it was amazing shipmate, was more agile than half the guys that were on the boat that were half his age.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things that Chip, the way he does it is it really is family, and he wants to learn everything.
Yeah.
And not to mention he's super, super safety conscious. So
Yeah.
we're all like, we have great equipment, we have great things.
Yeah.
And he's got just enough of the crazy about him that he's willing to be like, yeah, let's do Transpac
Yeah.
in like 6 months and completely retrofit the boat, like take it back to normal. Merlin, if you get the
Yeah.
chance, she's down here right now. Take a look at her. It is like what Bill Lee imagined, but like brand new. It is amazing. The boat is from soup to nuts, just gorgeous.
Well, I know I've seen the pictures and followed you guys on the rebuild and everything. It looks
Well,
amazing.
we were hoping to do the Mexico race out of kind of, well, where is that? Up at not
Pensacola.
Pensacola. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were hoping to do that, but
Yeah. No. That starts tomorrow.
exactly.
So,
That's one of Chip's bucket list races. So
Yeah.
who knows, Zane?
yeah.
You can sit down next to me in the navigator's booth.
Hey, there you go. You know, I did hold the record for that regatta for a number of years. It wasn't me, but the boat I was on. So,
There you go.
fun race. Yeah, Chip seems like a great guy. All right, so let me move on to the next question, if I can even remember where we were. All right, All right, America's Cup. Do you love it? Hate it?
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you a traditionalist? Do you love the new stuff? What are your thoughts? Or, you know,
I like a little bit of innovation, but like honestly, I'm not a catamaran person. I wasn't. So they kind of lost me the last time. I mean, they were super fast and speedy, but it was kind of like, hey, it's like watching the Tour de France. I mean, they just weren't it just wasn't what I wanted to watch. So
yeah.
I have to say that.
Now that it's in a big monohull, what do you think? Would you want to watch that?
I don't know. I wanna like it, but the other side of me too really wants it to go back to where your nationality was what you wore on the back of your shirt and what you had on your passport.
Yeah.
And I think right now it's hired gun. So it just doesn't have the same, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of bad stuff happening in the 70s and the 80s, and it wasn't all, roses and, rainbows. But those teams, they were grassroots, they cared about it, and you got to love a little color. I mean,
Yeah.
like they cared about the sailing. And I think we've gone a little too far on technology and less on the sailing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, future plans. I know everything's kind of up in the air right now, but what do y'all have planned in the future? Say this is all going tomorrow and you get to go again. What are y'all's plans? What are you doing?
Well, our big plan is probably to kind of do some campaigning. Like I said, we got to get the J24 back and kind of ship shape, whatever. You know what I'm saying. We want to get her back going, and we'd like to do some one design.
I know somebody that does boat work.
I know you do, and Brian does. They all do, but yeah, believe me, everybody. I can do it too. I don't want to. But so there'll be some one design stuff coming up. We've got we're going to be ramping back up to do the West Coast Circuit 2 on Merlin. We're going to try to do California Race Week and then into Transpac. And this year we're going to try to win it this time. We got third the last time, which was great out of the gate. And we had an amazing navigator. We had Adrienne Callahan. I'm sure you just saw. She's on the Olympic team, the offshore Olympic, the group. She's amazing. Like, she's a gangster. But that's the big thing. As far as if we could get to go sailing, well, I think we would just, we got a couple regattas out there, small stuff that we'd love to do, or just to get out on the water around some other boats.
Yeah. Just getting out there right now is a big thing.
Yeah, just getting out there.
Yep. All right, so here's one that you might hold dear. I don't know. What do you think of women sailing?
Oh, I'm so conflicted with it because when I first started, they were all like, "Oh, look, it's a girl. She wants to sail," and that wasn't from the guys. Like all the
Mhm.
guys were like, "Whatever," and really, it was like they didn't really gender me at all. The guys were like, "She can do the job. She gets it done. She, cleans the boat. She's the first one there, the last one to leave. She wants to sail, right?"
Yeah.
They didn't like do anything. Now, a lot of the ladies were like, "Come, come, 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 come race ladies race was with us," and I did. They took a little offense the one time that I raced an SR21 that was named Snatch after the movie in a ladies regatta. And I might have pushed it a bit far because my shirts for my girls said Gut Snatch, and the
Uh-huh.
boys that were our support team said Had Snatch, and then we won the regatta, and they wouldn't put my name on the trophy for a long time.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I think a lot of it, what it was when I started, was that it felt like an additional. It felt like
Yeah.
it was like a dumbing down or moving, and I was already racing all the time with the guys. I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I needed that door. But what I will say that I've come around to is I think it's a great avenue. I don't know if we need to have separate places anymore, but I think we do need to encourage women to take the helm. And
Right.
I think that's something that they can do in mixed company. They don't need to have it be just ladies only. I think they need to take the helm. And I think the problem has always been that women don't feel confident doing it because they're
Hmm.
afraid they're being judged.
Yeah.
And so they feel more comfortable around women doing it. But you just have to build a support network with the people you're around that you can go ahead and do it. Believe me, there are times that like with Brian, particularly when I started helming, I told him, I'm like, don't tell me what to do, just beep at me when
Yeah.
I'm doing something wrong and I'll correct myself and I'll learn it. And it helped me to gain confidence. He
Yeah.
did go around going beep, 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 beep all the time because I was always like footing or pinching or, just not right. But I had to learn that myself. But I had a support network to that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of women just feel intimidated because they don't feel like the guys around them or their crew is going to be
You have their
support.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
And
you.
so you got to do it. And so that means low impact. That means you're not, I will never helm a major event because there's Brian's been helming since he was like 3 years old in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be the helms person, but I'm competent enough to sail, in events. I'm competent enough to stand to watch.
Yeah.
I can do that. But I think it's getting people confident and getting women confident in it and comfortable in it.
Gotcha. Okay. Now here's the next question.
Hmm.
How do you have any ideas on how we grow the sport? What can we do to get more people involved? What are your thoughts?
I think it's threefold, and I've been talking about this since really since I got into it. Was like it's a great sport. You meet fantastic people who most of the time have enough of their life together and enough of a life plan that they're able to afford a boat or afford to do this, and so they're just good people, right?
Hmm.
And so I think one is looking at it as a social kind of connector. We always were really fortunate at Davis Island through the Thursday night series to bring in the 20 and 30-year-olds who were athletic and were
Hmm.
looking for that social, right?
Yeah.
But I think once you get them there, you can't just feed them, some keg beer and expect them to, like enjoy a sunset cruise. You got to give them something that's exciting, a little bit, kind of that meets them where they are. So I think that's where, I hate to say it, I love a symmetrical boat, but ASIM boats are so easy to get people on and take them through things, and to go fast, right? Because
Yeah.
ASIM sail hotter angles and you're hooting around, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's getting them on there, and then it's figuring out like what other draws they have on their life and not making. I learn to sail 4 or 5 days a week, but a lot of people want to do like one day of racing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably concentrating the racing a little bit more so that people kind of have some latitude. Although after this thing, I hate to say it, all of us are probably going to be like, nope, nope, don't need to be at the house anymore. Would like to be in this area. I'm never, like, give
Yeah.
me I'll race 5 days a week. I don't care. Just please don't let me go in the house. So,
Yeah.
but I think those are the three areas. Make it fun, make it social, make it easy, not too technical. And then make it, something that isn't the only thing they can do, but a part of who they are.
Gotcha. All right. That's great advice. All right. Now, if you're a new person to sailing, what kind of advice would you give to that new person? What would you tell
Um,
them? Like, hey, you know, random guy thinks he wants to go sailing, or a random woman thinks she want to go sailing. What do you tell them?
I usually tell them if they want to go sailing, that's one thing. If they want to take up sailing, I will tell them that there's a few bits of advice that was given to me early on. Number one, be the first one to show up for the boat, be the last one to leave. What
Mm,
this will do will allow you to, one, show that you're committed to the program, and two, it'll let you try things out. You can run lines, you can figure out where things go. You start to understand how the boat works, and it gives you that time, it gives you that space. Do not be late for boat call. um, the other thing I always would say to someone who wants to get involved is ask questions, ask lots of questions, and you will expect 250 different answers, and keep asking them,
yeah.
because there's no right or wrong way to do it. And so you can constantly kind of develop and explore. Now, having that beginner's mindset also requires that you never say the three words that I absolutely hate to hear on a boat. When you tell someone to do something and they look at you and they go, I don't know, no, 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 that's not the way we do it. Or I know, that's my other thing is when they're like, I know. And I'm like, you don't know. Even if I know, even if I'm on a boat and I've rigged it 275 times and someone comes up to me and goes, well, have you tried it this way? I'll say like, huh, let me take a look at that. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, how is this, like, let's look at how this is going to come out. Let's look at what this is going to do. And why do you want to do it this way? Instead of saying like, no,
Yeah.
and I think you have to be open, and because we are all learning, and when none of us know, even if we've been sailing, even if we have thousands of miles under our ass, we still are learning every time we go out there.
Yep.
And so the advice I always give people is like, be earnest, show up early, stay late, ask questions, and don't think you know it all, because you don't. And that I'm sure, Zane, you're the same way. When you get on a boat, you might know how something goes, but you're never going to look at someone and be like, no, I don't need that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to listen to them. They may be right.
Yep. Okay. Well, with all of those questions asked, here's the last one where you kind of get to free flow.
Oh goodness, you
Well,
can't let me do that. I'll just go off on some tangent.
I know, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm counting on it. All right. What else do you have to add? You've heard all my questions. What good advice, or what do you have to add to any of this?
Um, I just, you know what? I don't want to say that I think that there's one thing that you can do, but I think there's one really important thing that everyone should know about sailors,
Mm.
um, people that race, right? Is that we're not elitist. We don't all come from privileged backgrounds. That we're not all doing this because we like yacht clubs and wearing, fancy outfits and going to the pool, but
Mhm.
that we do this because it's the closest thing we can get to ritualized naval warfare. It's the closest thing that we can get to testing ourselves out on the water to see what kind of people we are, right? um Mike Ingham once, and it was a long cocktail party or dinner party, was like, he cornered me and he's like, Kat, what kind of person are you when you're sailing? And I'm like, Mike, you know what kind of person I am. And he's like, because the kind of person you are when you're sailing is your true nature. And I was like, okay, you've been drinking way too much. But got me thinking, you're primal. It's who you are.
Yeah.
It's what you do. And if you do it well and you come out of it, it is such a different experience than just, hitting a golf ball, or, throwing a pitch. It really is the closest thing we can come to kind of getting back to testing ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's just a rollicking bunch of fun. Plus, you do get to try out things that you don't get to do on land. Like, you can look at people, not that I have said this a lot, but I've said it a few times. I can look at guys and go like, dude, you can put away your ruler. I'm pretty sure your dick's bigger than mine. And I can say that, no one gets mad at me. They look at me and they go like, did you just hear what she said to that guy? And I'm like, yeah, because he's all posturing. And I'm like, dude, put it away. The ruler, I'm sure yours is bigger than mine. It is okay. So yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, and on that note, I'm going to end this interview.
Yes, of course. Okay, Zane.
Okay, so everybody, thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with all your friends. This is Kat Malone, excellent lady. Obviously, as you hear, she is definitely one of the great people around. Her husband Brian, tell him I said hi.
I will.
All right, and y'all be good, and thank you very much, and bye bye.
Bye bye.